Breaking news. Washington COVID detainment emergency. On January 12th, next week, the Washington State Board of Health will discuss applying current infectious disease codes to include COVID-19 for all Washington State residents. This is Washington State's government website. That's the code right there. It says procedures for isolation and quarantine. This is the very first sentence. It says at his or her sole discretion, which means it's up to them. A local health officer may issue an emergency detention order causing a person or group of persons to be immediately detained for purposes of isolation or quarantine. It states that they can take the person or group of persons into involuntary detention for purposes of isolation or quarantine. It says that the local health officer has to first make reasonable efforts, which shall be documented, to obtain voluntary compliance with requests for medical examination, testing, treatment, counseling, vaccination, decontamination of persons or animals, isolation, quarantine, and inspection and closure of facilities, or has determined in his or her professional judgment, their sole discretion professional judgment, that seeking voluntary compliance would create a risk of serious harm. If you don't comply, a local health officer may invoke the powers of police officers, sheriffs, constables, and all other officers and employees of any political subdivisions within the jurisdiction of the health department to enforce immediately orders given to evacuate the purposes of this section. If a local health officer orders the immediate involuntary detention of a person or group of persons for purposes of isolation or quarantine, the emergency detention order shall be for a period not to exceed 10 days. But then it goes on to say a local health officer may petition the Superior Court for an order authorizing the continued isolation or quarantine for up to 30 days. Do you see the abuse of power yet? Do you see it? Because it's literally stating that they can take you away for 30 days, involuntary detaining you if you don't comply with all their vaccination, isolation, quarantine, or let's say they deem that you were exposed to somebody that you didn't even know about, but the local health official says you were. It's up to their sole discretion that they can take you and detain you for 30 days. What will your family do during that time? What will your pets do, your work do, your kids do, your parents do? Do you see the abuse of power here? We need to come together as a country right now. We need unity. Put the differences aside and come together. Spread this message now.